Call the cops on me. On a mission to be champs since they let me free. Prepare for combat, my adversaries crumble. Face it, I got a reputation for damage. Busters get ready to rumble. They lock me in a cell, have me trapped in a living hell. Though not guilty, I'm still in jail. Brother, I serve my time like a soldier. Maintain composure. My shadow boxing the fight to the death, busting boulders. Every boxer with a pair of gloves. Best give up love. Here's a man from the makings of a thug. A lethal weapon, mind sharp. And in my heart, there's a wish to shake the world with the flurry of my black fist. Now once a high school dropout, now I'm the $1 million champ. Who's the next to get knocked out? Straight out of Brooklyn.
What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Chief Seats Box Show. As you're here, my boy JP. JP, what is going on?
Oh, we're gonna do it. We are gonna do it.
It is the final show of, I guess, the season, because it's going to come out right at the beginning of the year. It's going to close out our year in awards, and it's probably going to be the last show in a while that we do outside, so you're not going to have so much background noise, because we be having hella background noise lately. Just so you guys know, it's been tough getting it in. I mean, 60 hours a week.
You ain't got it.
You know what I mean? Like, that shit just, it's like, But we are back. We're here to finish the awards, count it down to the Fighter of the Year. But you know how we do it. First things first, follow us on Twitter, Cheap Seats Box, iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe. You can subscribe on all the platforms, but rate, review on iTunes. Help us move on up the rankings, and we will shout you out. You will be the next unofficial sponsor. Email us anything that we messed up on these award shows, cheapseatsboxing@gmail.com. And then you can throw any other questions on us, but you can tell me how full of shit I was or what I left out, because I'm sure I will leave out stuff. You know what I got to start doing, JP? I got to start writing this shit down at the beginning of the year. You know, put a notes thing in my phone and say, oh, you know what? I got to remember that fight at the beginning. You know, especially when it's like in April, March.
I got you back on something.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, man, you got to rack the brain.
What is it? The blue fish from Nemo?
Yeah, Dory.
There you go. See, I forget the recent ones, but I remember the long ones. And what happened now?
Your long-term memory is better than your short-term. Yeah. Welcome to all the listeners on all the platforms, including
Zoom.
What is going on, baby? All right. So where did we leave off last time? We left off on the star fighter who fell the most. And just so everybody knows, we're recording this before the end of the year. So this is all delayed and everything you guys have heard on the last couple episodes how it went. We've let that out. We hear guys in the background like doing very mediocre moves on the basketball court, but oohing and on. It's awesome.
And two.
But JP, the star fighters, like, you know, those guys who are at this upper echelon as far as money made, stature. It's not necessarily a skill thing. This is all about a star. The people who were like at the top of the game who have fallen the most. There's always somebody who's going to fall. Who for you? Give me a couple names and who you got at the top.
Number 3 would be Cotto. Because this is people, by the end of the year, his year is uneventful. You know, as far as, you know, star power.
Absolutely.
Number 2, I would say Manny, because even with the wins, he like I said before, he has no top end competition. He is basically, besides Floyd, he's beaten his era. Mm-hmm. So ain't nothing left out there for him. So it's like it's nothing he can necessarily do. I mean, Crawford is the only name looming, but he wouldn't be considered a star against Manny at all. And number 1 is Tyson Fury. You know, because he was the biggest, brashest heavyweight in a long time, and he blew it to the point where Klitschko is more relevant at this point than he is, and he beat Klitschko.
Yeah.
So that's my 3 right there.
Yeah. We had one difference. Well, I'll start at 2. And I had Miguel Cotto as well, obviously, for obvious reasons. He had a 0 year. He's going to fight James Kirkland next year, so that's not really a high-profile fight. Tyson Fury was my number 1 fighter. Obvious reason, the king of the hill. The heavyweight champion of the world is the face, can can be the face of boxing. And he was a guy who was poised to start to be that because he had people talking about him. He showed up on Showtime. Remember, he got in the ring with Deontay Wilder and everything. Hell, he sang Aerosmith in the ring after the Vlad fight. But I mean, he's now what, 300 and something pounds, 310 pounds, I think he admitted to. And this was not like an interview. This was him talking to Shannon Briggs, and Shannon's like, "Hey, I came back from 420. You be all right?" Like.
Yeah, that's the wrong person to complain about.
Yeah. I think they get each other because
because it is similar situation.
Yeah, the depression thing. Shannon has been very open about his depression and everything like that, and being on meds and all that shit.
But you know what Tyson didn't do fully, which Shannon took time to do. Just accept you're crazy. Shannon laughs at his damn self. Tyson, just accept that you're crazy and move on. You are entertaining as hell. Just accept that you go act a fool. Once you dress up as Batman, the shit's over.
Who I had at 3, and this is where we differed a little bit. Where you had Manny, and I can't argue with that. I had Canelo. Now, he did not fall from the stardom. He's still going to make the money. He's still going to be in the biggest fights. But he fell from a respect level. He is so less respected by not only the fans, because the fans are fickle. Right. we can be your biggest cheerleaders one fight, and the next fight, man, get him the fuck out of here. I hope he gets knocked out. That's one thing. But when you have professional Mexican fighters and former professional Mexican fighters who are literally just trashing you because of the way you look, as far as how you've handled the Triple G situation, I mean, you can always make the money, but it's hard to build back that respect. That's something that takes you can lose it in a heartbeat, but it takes years to build that shit back up. And I think he did definitely fall, as far as in that way. And then we always try to take a different look at things.
Absolutely. I mean, I get it. It's we predicted this a long time ago. The weight games is gonna be his game, and he definitely is playing the weight game.
The biggest clown of the year, our annual Adonis Stevenson Adrian Broner Award, the guy who is the biggest clown in boxing. I almost know everybody almost has the same pick for this one. Start at the bottom, man. Work your way up, because I think we're going to meet at the top.
I mean, we all know it's Tyson Fury.
Okay, it is Tyson Fury.
For
the same reasons that we said he fell the most.
Right. Number 2 is still Adonis Stevenson for me. Because, what the fuck? Like, really? What the fuck? I don't know what to say about that guy. I really don't. But number 3 is a little bit, how can I say this? I'm trying. I'll put Canelo as my number 3 clown for the weight issues. It wasn't his actions. It wasn't his actions. It's his team actions makes him look like a fucking fool. Yeah. Because how can you go up and down and up and down and down and up and over, and like, bro, pick a fucking side, man. Like See, Adonis is perennial.
Yeah.
That's why he's just there, because every year is the same game. That's my issue with him. Tyson, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Canelo, I could have flopped him if it wasn't for cocaine. I could have put Povetkin over him if I wanted to. But if you wouldn't have made this last move with Chavez, like, say, bro, really? 165? Really? I'm not a middleweight. I'm an over.
Yeah,
I'm over.
that's what I tell you, but he didn't lie.
Oh, God.
All right, well, I think that one was one of the easiest ones to figure out that Tyson Fury was going to be number 1. Number 3 for me was Adrian Broner, because this is the Adrian Broner Adonis Stevenson category. So you had Adonis, I got Adrian Broner, obvious reasons. Hey, I'm gonna Instagram a picture of a gun, and then I'm gonna tell everybody I'm killing myself, and then I'm
That's
gonna.
depression.
Well, so is
Tyson
Fury. So we are not playing any favorites. Exactly right.
True.
That should cut down race and religion and everything else. Number 2 for me is the Slash. 2 things. One of the guys who is now obligated to fight Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders, because that just announced today that WBO has made Canelo the mandatory at 160 for Billy Joe Saunders. But the Slash part was the Chris Eubank Jr. Because these fools love to call out Triple G when he's got a fight lined up. When he didn't, when he's looking for that next opponent, man, they're really quiet and don't call him out anymore. That's a fight I would love to do in the future. We'll see what happens. He signs the fight. Man, Triple G, after you fight that fight, you got to fight me next. I think Chris Eubank actually said that. Fight a real middleweight next. So what did Chris Eubank Jr. do? He went to 160. He's going to 168 to fight for the IBO title. The prestigious IBO title.
A real middleweight.
Yeah, real middleweight. Well, because he fought, Kell Brooks, so.
Yeah, but he's about to fight Danny Jacobs. That's a real middleweight.
But this is before that.
Yeah, I get it. Oh, hey,
but those guys are just, those are those internet gangsters, you know what I mean? Like those keyboard warriors, like you say. That they're always tough behind that,
What Twitter side you represent, cuz?
Exactly. That, to me, that's what I said. I haven't put that out, and people like that. That's like, when they finally officially signed Triple G and Jacobs, I was like, all right, you guys, it's safe to come out and play now. He's got an opponent. You guys can come out and play and start talking tough again. 'Cause that's what they do. That's their whole game. That's how they keep their name relevant. And after the way Billy Joe Saunders performed in his last fight, yeah, you better cash that fight out with Canelo.
Man, how the fuck did he get a title shot? How the fuck? You know what kind of bullshit that is?
Yeah.
To drop a belt.
Well, because he's the WBO junior middleweight champion. And most of those belts, if the champion from the weight below moves up, he becomes, if he wants it, number one. Right. That's how Chocolatito did that with Cuadras. That's what they do.
Yeah, but he needs an exemption.
Here's the problem. He didn't need to do that. He could have got the Billy Joe Saunders fight without being the mandatory. That was the whole stupid part of it. He could have did it anyway. What, you figured that was a way to make sure that Billy Joe Saunders got in the ring with you? All you got to do is show him money. He's going to go in there and take his ass whipping like a man. Like I said, they're jokes. That's just all they are.
Well, at least Billy Joe Saunders is going to fight somebody now.
Maybe. Yeah, and I wonder about that too. Like, he's a mandatory, right? It's mandated now. They have to fight each other, right? So is Canelo still going to try to pull the bullshit with the weights?
No. I didn't say he had to fight Canelo. I said somebody.
Oh, somebody. Okay.
You see, his ass still have to wait till Canelo and Chavez, right? So he's going to have a fight in between.
Well, see, like I'm telling you, they're playing like 4 sides to this thing. And the Canelo thing is all playing out exactly like I said when it came out the May thing. Look, they were like, oh, he's gonna come back in February. Remember that after he got hurt, he's coming back in February. It's almost January. He ain't fighting in February. We are now like 9 weeks away from the end of February, and that would only make another 9 weeks in between the end of February and the beginning of May, which would be the May Day the May Day pay-per-view part that he wants to be on. These things aren't lining up. He looks like now he's going to be pushed back to May. If he's May, he's not fighting one fight at middleweight and going to Triple G. He's going to fight at least 2 fights at middleweight before he fights Triple G. This is what I was talking about the whole time. He was going to fight that fight, say, oh, we need to build it up one more, especially now if he gets a title. Oh, we're going to let that marinate one more time, like.
We're going to drop this one too.
Go up to the super middleweight and fight Gilberto Ramirez in Mexico.
He's going to be the 8-9 time champion who never lost the belt because he dropped all them all.
The prospect of the year that did not win a title, because so many did. Usyk did, Joshua did, Parker did, Valdez did. There was quite a bit of these prospects from a year ago who won titles. There's a handful that didn't.
I'm gonna go with number 3 is JoJo Diaz. Number 2, shit. It's between. I don't think Ciampa didn't win one this year, right? So it'll
No,
be
he's like 10 fights in.
right, but he looks great.
Yeah, he looks really good.
Him and Tank. I know Tank got a title fight coming up if I ain't mistaken.
Yeah, who was it against?
That's the question. I know it's a title fight coming up, but Gervonta Davis, Ciampa and Gervonta. It's not too far from now.
Yeah, I could see it in my head. I almost want to say it's Francis Barthélemy, but I'm not sure if it is.
I don't think so. In the ballpark, though.
Is it Argenis Mendez?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so. I believe it's Mendez. And number 1 is, of course, Errol. I think because JoJo, like 217, he's probably going to get a title shot. Between Tank's getting one, Ciampa's looking so good, somebody going to have to give him one. And people are running for the hills from Errol.
Yeah.
So it's coming.
I think Errol Spence was kind of off the radar as far as people, because until he gets his title shot, he's still a prospect.
Right.
He really hasn't fought anybody. I mean, who? Algieri?
Yeah, he beat the brakes off him.
He beat the shit out
He
of
beat
Algieri.
somebody else ass, too.
Yeah, but it wasn't like that high profile name.
Right.
It was just a name. Like Algieri was that first step. You know what I mean? But you're still a prospect. It's like when Valdez. There was like 2 fights before Valdez got his title shot. I can't even think of the name now. You're still a prospect until you get to that title level. I think you're still a prospect, man. Until you've been truly tested. And I think people don't think of Errol Spencer because people already consider him one of the best welterweights in the world. But that's just a testament to the talent that people see in him.
Right.
And I also had him as number 1. That's why I'm going off this, because I also had him on number 1. And the funny thing was, I don't think people were thinking about it. And I was like, I wonder if JP's going to go there. But my other 2, I had JoJo Diaz at 2, because 1, he's working his way to the title shot. 2, he's like one of the most fun fighters, and he's like, the names are like, oh, I can't, I would love to see him, like you said, with Gary Russell. I'd like to see him against Oscar Valdez. All these names out there now that he's kind of getting the Errol treatment. What about Spence versus Brooke? What about Spence versus Crawford? What I mean? He's starting to get that same kind of treatment. The third one at the bottom for me was Tevin Farmer, because he is kind of
Nice.
It's not just nice. And I tell you what I really respect about Tevin Farmer is the way that he's doing it. He's not doing it the PBC way. He's doing it his way. He's fighting off of TV. He's taking every fight that he can. He was late. Was he a late fill-in for the Red Catch fight, or maybe that was just his one test? And he beat the fuck out of Ivan Red Catch.
Yeah, that was a test fight.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's still fighting these. Like he fought like 2 weeks ago in some little small place in Philadelphia. I mean, he's doing it the right way. He's not, and plus I respect where he came from. He took the losses early. He got into that classroom early, kind of like Salido did. So now when he gets to his title shot, he's earned it, and he's going to be extra hungry. He's going to be kind of surly. Don't whoever fights him for the title, don't try to make it seem like he's just been handed shit, because you're just setting yourself up for ass whipping. Kind of like the way that Salido's like, well, fuck you, Lomachenko. Watch this. I'm gonna take you to school. Not school is in boxing, but school is just professional boxing. Yeah. I'm gonna show you how to cheat. I'm gonna show you how to take advantage of everything. I'm gonna show you how to miss weight. And such a beautiful strategy, because he knew that Lomachenko was not gonna say no to that fight, because he wanted that title so bad. That's all he wanted, was that title and that second shot. And Salido's like, cool. And Farmer is kind of that same way. I mean, he's not the veteran that Siri was, but he's just building the right way, man. He's got everybody talking, and he's going to give everybody a problem. You wish he had the power. He's kind of in that JoJo area where,
Yeah.
oh, if he had some power, boy, he'd be
He would.
real nice.
But him and JoJo are
Yeah.
similar. They gonna whoop your ass
Yeah.
the whole time.
And they may never ever be the best at their division, but they're gonna be one of the best, and they're gonna give every single person a problem, no matter
Yeah.
what happens. That's the way I see it.
Absolutely.
Now this one was hard for me. The round of the year. Oh, that was hard because I swear to God, nothing popped up in my head. And then I started like racking my brain. Here's what I came with. Round 2, Thomas Williams Jr., Edwin Rodriguez. Oh, I got you. You got that one, huh?
Oh yeah.
That was probably the best round for me of the year, man. Because you know what? It's funny because, this was a great year of boxing. People will say, this is a bad year. It was definitely not a memorable year because when I went to start looking for round of the year, I'm like, God dang, I cannot think of shit. It was tough, man. But that was a back and forth round. Edwin hurt him. He came back and knocked Rodriguez down, knocked pretty much out of his feet. But that was just a fun little round. It was a quick fight. It was a fun little 2-round fight, was it not?
Yes. That was my number 1. My number 2 and 3 were literally the last 2 rounds of Crawler Barossa. Barossa.
That was round 5, 4 and 5, no, 6 and 7, something like that.
Those last 2 rounds, look, you add them with that, and there you go. Because they were going back and forth, back and forth,
Yeah.
back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, yo, this shit is ridiculous.
And everybody thought Barossa was going to just go through Crawler too, and you could see Crawler like slowly breaking him down. But Barossa only knew one way to go, and he was going to go balls out, man. They were still trading bombs in them last couple rounds up until he finally caught him with that liver shot, man. It was like, and Barossa was like, I'm good. That was it, man. I'm good.
That was a good fight.
You know, me and JP,
those will pop up later on for me too.
Well, me and JP was just talking about this before we started recording. Was you got KO of the year, you got fight of the year, round of the year. You generally don't have what you would call quote unquote boxers, even boxer puncher. It's generally those guys who just fucking scrap. Those guys who just bring everything they have in one shot. And so I wanted to do kind of a boxer category, something that's really, it's going to be really hard to get somebody who has just pure power, who's like a, you're not going to get a Provodnikov or a Salido or a Soto Karas in this kind of category. But the schooling of the year, and I'm only going to go one deep because this is one I just thought of right before we did it, was which fighter took the other fighter to school the best this year. And the one that popped in my head right away was Lomachenko and Walters. In a fight that you thought, this is going to be pretty nice. It's going to be close. Walters got the power. He's got the skill. He's got the skill to hang with him. I think Lomachenko's going to get him, but he's going to have to bring out a lot of stuff. And honestly, he brought out a lot of things, and Walters had zero answers for him. And the lesson he taught him was so severe that Walters decided, you know what? I'm good. I'm just not gonna fight anymore. Like he embarrassed him so bad that after 7 rounds, he's like, I'm good.
Even with everything that went on around that fight, the excuses you can make both ways. I think he is the boxentologist of the year because he schooled both people.
Yeah.
He has a PhD in boxing from wherever the fuck he wants to have it from. I don't care where you want. I don't care if it's the Chavez school, the Mayweather school, the Whitaker school, the Ali school, the Tyson school, whatever school you want. He is a boxentologist this year. So,
the other one that I would have just remotely thought of, but the problem was it was so boring, was Crawford and Postal. Because Crawford, after 4 rounds, because they were back and forth rounds, they were even after 4. And Crawford said, okay, I'm good messing around now. I'm just going to go ahead and take these next 8 rounds. I think Postal won one more round, I think. I think somewhere in there towards the end, Crawford is like, okay, I'm good. You can have one of these rounds. Like, he took him to school, but it was just like it was so limited in the kind of action you was hoping for. But you could have like in this category. If I was to go back a couple years, you could have fighters in there that you would normally not like. I would put, of course, a Rigondeaux versus Donaire was a schooling as far as I'm concerned.
Salido
Lomachenko was a schooling in a different way. He took him to professional boxing class, not actually boxing class, which is kind of what Lomachenko did to Gary Russell.
I mean,
he kind of schooled him in a way like, let me show you something that he wasn't going to be pushed around. He was going to be the bigger man, the stronger man, the faster man. Everything that Gary Russell thought he was going to be in that fight, he took it away from him. He kind of schooled him in that way.
I would say Floyd, man. I would even say Canelo and Cotto. Even though it was I would, because he took it to him that fight.
Yeah,
he took it to him.
He shut him down pretty much after 6 rounds. It was it.
Yeah,
Schooling of the year. Did you have the same one?
Yeah, that's the first. That's the only thing that pops up to your head because the skill was just so fucking head and shoulders above everybody in the year.
Mm-hmm.
He's dope. He's dope. He's a good fighter.
Upset of the year.
We all know what that is now. Shit. Which one? Well, he got both of them.
All right, well, he's got my top 2 spots.
Yeah, I was about to say, he got both of them. Now.
Joe Smith Jr. versus Fanfara 2. Joe Smith Jr. versus Hopkins 1, which obviously, if you're listening to this, you heard what I said in the first one. But definitely the upsets of the year. There's really not much more to really add on to it. Everybody, especially because it's so fresh in people's memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's so freaking obvious now. It's like, well, there's other fights that you could think of, but Joe Smith was going to be there anyways for the Fanfara fight. And now it's just like, hey, everybody else take a back seat. Fuck it. Just sit your ass down.
The other one that I thought of, and this was number 3 for me, was Charlo and Williams. And I'll tell you why it was an upset. It wasn't upset because we obviously picked him. We were one of the few who did pick him. There were a few people who picked him, but it was the way in which he did it. It may not have been the biggest upset, but it was the biggest upset in the way that he did it. Like, I didn't see that. I could have saw him winning late stoppage maybe. Points victory, yes. But the fact that he knocked him down twice, once with the jab. And I thought, as much as people gave him so much credit, I thought he was taking back over that fight. I just didn't see it, man. After the knockdown, it just had that feeling of, it really is just a matter of when. And even though there were parts when Williams started getting back in, J-Rock kind of got into a rhythm, but you could see as soon as he would tag Charlo with like big shots, and Charlo would just look at him like that. It ain't your day, bud.
The craziest thing I think about him and Triple G, really him, Triple G, and Kovalev have the same MO. You might make it through this first round, but the fucking fight's over and you know it. And that's the you could see that he discourages the shit out of people, which is funny. It is funny. Oh, I'm good. No, you're not. No, you're not. You just got hit and you had no idea. This like we talked about this before. Now it's solidified how hard he hit Bundridge.
Yeah.
Cause that's when you're like, okay, now if he gonna hit you with a hook or a jab or uppercut and you gonna have a problem, he pretty much can hit you with everything. The next person who gets hit by a straight is gonna get buckled.
Yeah.
So it's about to be serious. He's a problem, and his brother's a problem too. It's just his brother doesn't have that power that he has.
And now he has the personality because of what happened that people are either going to love. Because honestly, as much as people try to dog it out at first, there was just as many people go, man, I got no problem with it. Hey, you know what? Julian was talking mad shit about him and his brother. So, Well, it's fair game, you know.
See, but the crazy part about it is, it's been known, if you're paying attention, that Jamal ain't I wouldn't call him a hothead, but I would call him an aggressive person. And his brother is like a cooler version of that. But he's not the person to piss off.
I've heard that he is a little bit of a hothead. He is a guy who thinks. He thinks a little bit highly of. He thinks pretty highly of himself.
He's a confident ass whipper.
I can just. That's just what John told me. Our buddy
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
When he went to went to the gym, he was like, that Jamal, he ain't the coolest dude. Jamal was hella cool. Jamal, not so much.
He might have called. He's the Gary Payton of boxing. You know he cool.
Yeah.
Just don't catch him balking on the wrong day.
You know, and he knew Sweet Pea back in the day. Him and Sweet Pea was cool back in the day, so he knows some personality and some attitude. And if he's saying that about Jamal, I'm gonna take his word for it.
Okay, yeah. I tried to sugarcoat it, but
I'm just saying. You know, that was the beginning of this year. He was just telling me that. So
yeah, but you know what? But it's a good thing for boxing.
And that was before he even. That was before he had the title.
Before he whipped the ass.
before he beat Julia Williams' ass. We're coming to the nitty gritty, man. KO of the year.
Man. Shit. Okay. Now, honorable mention has to be Joe Smith. Because he fell out the ring like, I felt like opera music was playing. You gave me the number one, so we're going to skip that one.
Okay. Then don't go to it. Just give me
right.
Just give me your honorable mention for two. I'll start up, and then we'll finish off.
And number 3 is Jamal. That was a fucking bomb. Because of the way he tried to get, I'm good, you're not good. Number 2 is Williams Jr. Because he buckled the shit out of Edwin. When wow, I was like, oh, Lord. How did you go from almost getting knocked out the ring to buckling the shit out of this man? He just was like, I mean, Canelo Khan can be honorable mention, but it's like kind of glass jaw thing. You know, that's where it's kind of the problem.
Except for the fact that it had been his third time he'd been a recipient of a knockout of the year.
So that's where it's like, ugh. But did he basically... Did he damn near kill him? Yeah, he did. But, you know, we're going to move on from that.
Yeah, Canelo Khan was... And I'm pretty sure I said that, like, even when it happened, like, this is not going to be a knockout of the year, no matter what people want to put on there. No, he not when he got knocked out quicker and with one single punch by a 135-pounder that I'm going to give it to this 155-pounder. It was nice and it looked good. But that one... The problem with the Canelo one, the Canelo and Khan one was, you knew that it was coming. It was just, when is he fight? That was our whole point. Even when we broke this fight down was, okay, so when is he gonna knock him the fuck out?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what you were waiting for. And then it happened, round 6, great. So that one was never gonna ever be in there. Number 2, I did put. No, that was honorable. No, my number 3, sorry, was Joe Smith versus Hopkins, because he knocked him out. He knocked him out through the ropes and then gave him a concussion on the floor from hitting his head on the concrete. So much so that he hurt him so bad and he hit his head so hard he swore he done turned his ankle. You know. It's funny because, it's funny because it makes me think of, this is going to age me a lot, but, there's a new show on A&E with Leah Remini, and she's talking about the ins and outs of Scientology, right? Uh-oh. She's breaking the myths. She's breaking all the rules. She's like, no, I'm tired. But when they used to do the commercials for Dianetics, L. Ron Hubbard books in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s, they used to have this thing like, do you feel... what was it? Well, a lady burns her hand in, I'm going to just make up a state, Wisconsin, and her sister feels it in California. You know what I mean? Do you remember seeing it?
They were twins.
Do you remember that?
I know exactly what the hell you're talking about because you had the crazy voice.
And that's exactly what happened there. He went all Dianetics on him. And he hit his head so hard on the goddamn floor that he thought he twisted his ankle. He seriously thought he twisted his ankle.
He doesn't give everybody credit though, because remember he broke his shoulder against
Dawson.
Right. He got hit in the groin against.
Yeah, it's always something with him.
If you beat, he only gave Kovalev the win. That's it.
My number 2 was a PBC fight early in the year. Murat Gassiev, KO Jordan Schimmel, beautiful left hook, sent him flying into the ropes. And honestly, that was the first time I had saw Gassiev, and then I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see this dude fight again. And then he got the Lebedev fight, and then shit, he fucking put Lebedev on his ass one time. That was a beautiful, picture perfect counter left hook, man. Just boom, down. And number 1 just happened this past weekend, and that's why we didn't go to it yet. Hassan Endam.
Shit.
I can't remember. I can't think of the guy's first name. His last name is Blanco. With this last fight in France, 22 seconds in, he catches him. What's that? Little right hand, right on the chin, and he just falls face forward, right flat on the canvas, and then the legs start twitching. You know, it's like it's almost like when you saw people die on TV. You know, they do the little twitch at the end, like that's what it looked like. You know,
it was very scary.
Yeah,
it was very scary.
You see them like in the movies when they're like when they hang somebody and they got that little last kicks at the end. That's what he was doing when he was on the ground. It's like and from a guy who does not only is it the knockout of the year because the effect, but because Hassan Endam has not got power. He doesn't have that kind of power.
Guess he got it now.
He caught him in the right spot at the right time, did he not?
Shit, that was.
And I would say that I would say, well, I mean, maybe he was juicing, but that fight was in France, and France, they like to test for that shit, man. Ain't nobody coming taking their cycling trophies and shit. They like to test.
Well, he might have been on the wine.
Yeah, well, maybe he got some of that Povetkin-tainted meat.
God damn. It was the cheese. But dang, I mean, that was entertaining but scary.
Fight of the year, man. This one was a little bit harder because early on I thought we had some candidates, and then it just seemed like it was.
Okay.
There were some really good fights,
and this is how I'm gonna do it. My number 1, my fight of the year were literal fights. So I will say my number 1 fight was. I'll go from the bottom. Fuck it. Number 3 fight was Chocolatito and Quadras. Because they immediately say, God damn it, we need to fight again. And everybody who's watching that fight like, God damn, he won, but it looked like he got his ass whipped. Look at him. Number 2 fight of the year was Porter Thurman. They was fucking going at it. And it was a ebb and flow of, I'm going to bully you around, you're going to have to fight your way out of this, we're going to have to get it. Number 1 fight of the year, to me, Williams and Rodriguez. It didn't last long, but god damn. It was a fight. That
fight made me want to create a new category for next year. The Hagler-Hearns category. The best fight that was 3 rounds or less.
Yeah.
I'm serious, man. Like, because there are some good, like, fun fights that are like 2-3 rounds, and that's it. It's all over with.
True.
Maybe we had to do that Hagler-Hearns category next year. Best fight that lasted 3 rounds or less.
I had some honorable mentions, but I'm like, because you know, that white Chisora fight, because there was heavyweights and the Corolla Barossa, because you know that was just a good ass fight.
Well, we have a totally different list, except for. No, we have a totally different list. Honorable mention. I would put honorable mention on there. I would put Quadras and Chocolatito. That was just a great fight by 2 great fighters, and it wasn't just banging. That was also technical. That was like technical banging, like because those are 2 skilled fighters, especially Chocolatito. So for him to have that kind of, you know, he always has that kind of action, but it's so measured and skilled. It's just it's just aesthetically pleasing, man. You see that, he's like, I like what he does, and that's why he's caught on at such a light weight, because people are like, this little motherfucker can bang. And not only can he bang, but it's not just winging punches. It's not Giovanni Segura. It's not against him, Tyson Marquez. It's not that kind of banging. It's a much more technical. It's somewhere in between those guys and like what a Lomachenko does. You know what I mean? It's kind of in between those two things.
He's a technical brawler.
Mm-hmm. Number 3, I had White and Chisora. Why? Because that is probably one of the funnest heavyweight fights I've watched in forever.
True.
Just crazy banging. I'm gonna throw everything I got at you, hurt you. You're gonna throw everything back at me. And the fact that neither one of them fell, it still kind of shocks me, because they were killing each other. I mean, their necks snapped back, each of them probably 50 to 60 times in that fight. It looked like the JFK video, back and to the right. You know what I mean? It's like it kept on, like it was like that. You know, like when they replayed over and over again. Was it on that movie JFK? Remember? Kevin Costner kept on playing it back and forth, and it looked like that.
Somebody gonna be so mad.
To the left. Was it to the left or to the right? I can't remember.
Oh shit!
It was like, I know that was inappropriate, huh?
Oh shit!
I'm just representing Texas. You know that happened here. So, number 2 was Jesus Soto Karass. Yoshihiro Kamagai won. Why? Because, well, it lived up exactly to what we thought it was going to be. Second one, not so much. The first one, absolutely.
That was
bell rang. They just started throwing. When the bell finally rang at the end of the 10th, they finally stopped throwing. And there was pretty much nothing that slowed down in between. That was insane. I bet you it wasn't on the radar for a lot of people, because why? It was on Ring TV Live. It was on the app. It wasn't. But as soon as you heard that fight was coming, you're like, oh no, I got to turn on that damn app. I gotta
shit. You know what?
I think that was the last stand for Soto Karass. I think almost in the same way that may have been the last stand for Derek Chisora in their fight. Like that was his last. Maybe that might be his last great effort. You know what I mean? Like this was it. I'm bringing it all for my one last run. You know what I mean?
They both did a hell of a job.
They
both did a hell of a job.
There was no complaints in that. Number 1 for me was Orlando Salido, Francisco Vargas, in a fight that I scored for Salido. Would end up a draw?
I believe so.
It's been a while. Anyway, Vargas kept the title, whatever the hell happened.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, if it was a draw or the game, I can't even remember at this point. Because you know what? And that's a testament to the fight, because the fight was so good that all I remember is that I thought Salido won and he didn't get the decision. That's all I know. That's all I remember from the fight. What was it? A total of over 2,000 punches thrown. Two guys just going at it. And Salido, who everybody keeps on waiting to get old, because he is about as old in fight years as Bernard Hopkins is.
He's
in
the
actual
Mexican
years.
Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah, but he's the oldest 34-year-old or whatever in the history of mankind.
And you know what? His name keeps popping up every year. So don't be surprised if his name pops up next year. Because he's a problem.
And if you need an Uber driver, just call Orlando Salido, because he's doing that in his spare time. That's amazing.
He'll rob your bitch ass if you say the wrong thing.
The most Mexican fighter ever. Hurt his back doing construction and is driving Uber while he waits for his fight. You gotta love Orlando Salido. How do you continually get in fight of the year kind of fights? It's constant with that guy. He's the Mexican Arturo Gatti. He really is, man. I mean, always in a fight of the year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where the level of the competition is. It doesn't matter if it's a young up-and-comer like Francisco Vargas, or if it's the old veteran Rocky Martinez, it doesn't.
Or
Lomachenko. He's going to bring everything he's got every single time. Whether he fights up or down, I can't tell you. He's just an overachiever. You know what I mean?
Hats off to an overachiever.
Well,
dun dun dun.
That's it. Fighter of the year. And I know these fighters are on the edge of their seats. It's like the Heisman Trophy presentation. They're sitting in there with their suits, with their moms, waiting to see if we call them.
Yeah.
But it comes down to this, JP. Start at number 3, if you don't mind. You're finishing in
Number 3
third
is
place.
Lomachenko. Even though he had even though the circumstances around his fight, he was head and shoulders just dope. It's just, this motherfucker was dope. Matter of fact, he was in Tyson Fury's nose this year. He was dope. That's what I'm gonna say about him. Great skill level, he did it all. Number 2 fighter. Yes, it's marred with controversy, but it's Andre Ward, goddammit. 3 wins, because in the books it's 3 wins.
The books is 3 wins.
It's 3 wins. He beat 2 undefeated fighters and an But the up and comer.
There was definitely an end.
Yeah. he definitely beat an up and comer, who we have showed us over the weekend. He's serious, and he beat Kovalev. Like I said, it's in the books. We watch certain games where the score, the team wins. We like,
They got lucky. They didn't deserve that one.
Yeah, but I don't think Kovalev won either. But I thought it was draw. But he's number 2. Number 1 is Carl fucking Frampton, the Jackal. He beat 2 undefeated fighters this year.
2 different weight classes.
Yes, 2 different titles, if I ain't mistaken.
Yeah.
So, to me, I mean, it's the accomplishment of what he did.
Yeah.
Accomplished wise, hey man, hats off to the Jackal.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get a lot of love. I actually had him at 3. What can you say? Quigg. I think that's the one that's where I'm like, I just don't know how good Scott Quigg is. He was built up, and their hatred was one thing. And let's be honest, he doesn't get a lot. I don't think he gets enough credit for how tough he showed, because he did get his jaw broken early on in the fight, and actually, he won just as many rounds as Frampton did towards the end, and probably won 2 of the last 3 rounds. He actually closed stronger in that fight. I mean, so he showed a lot of toughness. So maybe he is better than what we think. So, that's where I flipped on him and my number 2. And then the fight with Leo Santa Cruz was a great fight. Those guys went back. That was one I didn't even mention as my honorable mention for fight of the year, because it was just a fun fight, back and forth. Those guys would crack each other with big shots constantly throughout the night. What much can you say? I mean, I got no problem with him 1. I got no problem with the 2. Got no problem with him 3. I had him at 3. I actually had him at 2 before. I switched it with Manny. I'm going to put Manny at 2 because, honestly, I don't think anybody had 2 better wins as far as the type of opponents that he beat. Bradley, who was probably still top 6 or 7, most people thought, in the pound-for-pound list. And, yeah, he had beaten him before. But you know what? Yeah, same could be said for when he went and fought Marquez the 4th time. Look what happened.
True.
Then he goes and fights
Vargas?
Yeah, Vargas. Why can't I think of his first name? I keep on
Jesse.
Jesse. I keep on wanting to say Francisco because I just talked about Francisco Vargas. Jesse Vargas, and dominates him. And Vargas, Vargas is probably in the neighborhood of, in the welterweight division, 7 and 8, probably somewhere around there overall welterweight. So he beats a top 10 welterweight. He beats probably a top 2 or 3 welterweight behind him, in Bradley, and does it in dominant fashion. And I think that's where I edged it, was because Frampton was dominant against Quigg, but I thought it was pretty tooth and nail with Santa Cruz. I gave that one 7-5. Frampton, and a lot of people did have 8-4, but I mean Manny's fights were 10-2, 10-2, 11-1, 10-2, however you wanted to see it. He didn't lose more than 3 to 4 rounds this year, in those 2 fights. But number 1, he just had the 2 biggest upsets of the year. I'm gonna go with Joe Smith Jr. for my fighter of the year, and I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to try to put... I think I can give a good enough argument to where you go, I don't agree, but I'll accept it. You know what? It's not far-fetched. 1, I know he had a fight earlier in the year, but besides before the Fonfara fight,
Right.
knocks out Fonfara in 1 round. Fonfara is considered probably a top 4 or 5 light heavyweight.
True.
People forget that they were like, oh, if he fights Don Stevenson again, he probably gonna knock Don Stevenson out, and he gets his ass knocked out because remember he was supposed to fight. They were talking about it. He's probably gonna fight Stevenson again after he beats this guy Joe Smith Jr. that nobody's ever heard of. Knocks his ass out. Then goes against Bernard Hopkins. After the fight, Hopkins is no longer a top 10 light heavyweight. But going into that fight, that's not what people thought. People thought, Kovalev beats him, Ward beats him, probably Stevenson beats him at this point in their careers. But after that, he's probably a toss-up with any of those guys after that. So at worst, he's 6 or 7 in that division, which would kind of go.
He's 4.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna say Pascal. You're
He
not
already
gonna
beat
say
Pascal, exactly.
Well, everybody else he beat.
Exactly, that's my point.
Yeah, everybody else he beat.
And Barrera had just lost. He had, he just got that big win. Maybe a Sly Barrera passed him right before the fight, but not going into that fight.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He stops him. Nobody thought he would stop him like that. It was emphatic. He knocked him out. He knocked him out. He knocked him out of the ring. He was out there outside 20 seconds. They said TKO. It was a KO. So he has 2 knockout victories against 2 top 5 light heavyweights. In 2 fights, now this is where he was better than everybody else. In 2 fights, he was picked to lose in.
True.
And favored to lose in. And nobody else did that. Manny was favored to win both his fights. Frampton was favored to win both of his fights. Joe Smith Jr. was favored to lose both of his fights. And not only did he win, he didn't go to the cards like both of those guys did in both of their fights. He knocked their asses out.
Yeah.
And then when you think about where he came from, you know what? I got to give it to him, man. He ain't the best fighter of the year, but his year was better than anybody else's as far as I'm concerned. It kind of went in that way of the Hopkins thing. Hopkins wasn't the best fighter of his era, but he had the best career of his era.
True.
Smith ain't the best fighter, but he had the best damn year as far as I'm concerned.
You know what? You're right.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you're right. Because
at least I can make people think, okay.
I like that. Because nobody. If you bet on at the end of the year, Joe Smith Jr. will be a name on the tip of your tongue, you'll be a fucking billionaire. I would take your March Madness card so I could cash that shit in. I would take your Super Bowl pick right now. I don't give a shit if it's a wild card team who's on the cusp. Because you have to know something.
Even if you say Cleveland Browns, 2017 Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, I'm going with Cleveland, son.
He must know what he's talking about.
RG3 is back. We got Terrell Pryor. Josh Gordon decided to stop doing it, though.
Well, let's not get crazy now. Josh Gordon will never give it up.
How he give it up? When the bank says, look, you need money, boy, he go, I'm done with these drugs. That's the same way Tyson Fury gonna give it up. He gonna get his card declined at a restaurant in Britain. I'm done with cocaine.
Oh man! All right, that was it. That was the last show of the year. Even though this is coming out at the beginning of the year, you got any shows you want to shout out? Anything like that? Any people? I don't know. Whatever you want to do. You do whatever you want. Go buy JP's book, man. You can do that. We shout out your book.
Lessons from a non-custodial father. From all y'all who need a little help on how to work through the system and through parenting. But I will give a shout out to all of the boxers who made a tough year entertaining. Like Joe Smith, like Julian Williams Jr., like Jermall Charlo, like, even though I don't want to say this, because the hate that we've given to Canelo, you were entertaining too, goddammit. Like Tyson Fury, who's lost his damn mind. All of the fighters, without you, we wouldn't have a show. All of the promoters who finagled their way to getting their punk ass fight in the ring who was bullshitting all year, shout out to you. All of the people, all of the trainers, I don't want to shout y'all out because y'all didn't talk enough shit this year. But y'all train these fighters, so shout out to everybody involved in boxing. And then shout out to every other podcast, every other show in the world, and most important to all of y'all who listen. Thank y'all.
I'm gonna shout out a few people, but I'll give a shout out to go ahead. Oh yeah, he's in there. Definitely he's in there. Like I say, hey, if you keep this show in the rotation, I want you to go listen to everybody, man, because because when you do shit for free like this, man, and only one or two people actually try to make any money out of it, but the ones who do it for free, like, the only satisfaction we get is, hey, people listen, that feels good, so hey, go try them all out. They're all not gonna be for you. Like, we're not for everybody. Shit, go try them out. But we have shows out there that have always been supportive of us, retweeting the show, pushing links and stuff like that. So, and I try to do that with other shows. I try to spread out the love. I stop with some shows because I start pushing it, and then we'll go back and forth, and pretty soon they're like, okay, we're good. I'm not retweeting this show no more. I'm like, oh, well, then I'm not, what I mean? Because you just figure, like, hey, it ain't that hard. All you do is one click and boom, there it is. You're good, It's such a petty thing, man. So the ones who continually push the show and help us, man, I appreciate it. Rope-a-Dope Radio, he'll always retweet. Tail the Tape, whether it's Vince or Kenny. I said Keith, Kenny Keith. Man, it's been a long year, man. It's been a long week. But both Kenny and Vince, they retweet the show. Tail the Tape, go check them out. Leave It in the Ring. They put us on. He put us on the show. Put me on the show. Hey, makes us visible to people. So, shout out to Leave It in the Ring, Dave Duenas. Much respect. Boxed Out Podcast. Those dudes are always retweeting and pushing out the show, man. So go check those guys out. Sunday Puncher. Oh, they do it too. Shout out to Sunday Puncher. Go. They have a host named Angelo. He's the second best one, but it is what it is, man. And the British dude that's on there, he just moved to Houston. Maybe he gonna have to hook up with us one day just to hang out and watch a fight. Yeah, I swear, yeah. So what Simon? I think his name is Simon. So shout out to Sunday Puncher. Listeners, man, who interact with us and also push the show. This guy gave a rate review one time. He said, "Hey man, you got a link?" I was like, "I ain't got no link for the fight, man. I just do what I do, I just don't have one that I can go on my phone." Now I mess up this name, Paul Delosier. Shout out to him. Brad in Jacksonville, Patrick in SoCal, Patrick Smith, Jimmy DiMarino. You hear him on Steve Kim show all the time. Old boy with his boy. Used to be boys with Mickey Ward. So I still is, actually. So Tony Sheffy, Peter Watling, and our boys Brandon Thomas, Arizona Slim, Neeson Leon, old school from like almost day one guys, man. We appreciate those guys. Appreciate all the people who listen, man. And if you haven't interacted with us, make that your thing in 2017, man. Start emailing us, email us, tweet us, whatever, man. We love to hear from the people who listen to the show, because I get ideas from them guys. Hey, why don't you try this? Talk about this. I do it because if I'm not thinking about it, we're open to anything. Yeah. We got, like I said, we got ideas coming for next year, and we'll see when we can figure out how to quadcast this some bitch. Anything else, JP, man? Any shout outs, anything else, man? Anything you want to say as we close out the 2016 boxing year?
Ho ho ho, bitches. Happy New Year. This is where the fighters fight, the fast commentate.
And we do it just like you for the cheap seats, because we ain't buying no tickets. God damn it, peace. And we'll talk to you guys next year. I think January 17th. Later, guys.
Call me crazy, but no one can fake me. I'm the product of the projects. Lost and crazy. Throw your hands up, Mr. Bruno. Ride. Big Mike Tyson about to brutalize that ass tonight. No hesitation for the whole nation. I'll beat that ass so bad I probably violate probation. Through demonstration as I strategize information. Intensification.